Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree is finally out, and I figured what better way to attempt my first Elden Ring playthrough than to play it on a laptop with only 8 gigs of RAM. This should be fine, right?
No! Get out of here! Get No! Damn it! I knew it! Oh, he got me, you little Kill him!
What's up guys, it's Tyler from 24 Concept, and today we're gonna figure out if 8 gigabytes of RAM is enough for gaming in 2024. The laptop we're using today is the Gigabyte G5, a budget-friendly, no-frills gaming laptop that, strangely enough, has only 8 gigabytes of RAM. It also has a 12th gen Intel Core i5-12500H, 512 gigabytes of storage, and an RTX 4060 laptop GPU, which, let me tell you, is the star of the show. Apparently, Gigabyte allows the GPU up to 75 watts of power, making it perform better than most other laptops with the same chip. Pair it with a 15.6-inch 1080p 144Hz display, some decent I/O, and you've got the perfect laptop for casual gaming. Pricing for this model was tough to find because it doesn't even appear to be offered anymore, but based on this listing from Newegg, this model was probably around $1,000 or less, which honestly isn't that bad, because as you're about to find out, it games way better than you expected. And well, given I enjoy pain, I decided that the best way to test a laptop with 8 gigabytes of RAM was to, of course, play Elden Ring. I am absolutely shocked how well this laptop manages to play this game with only 8 gigs of RAM, considering Steam says it requires a minimum of 12. The footage you see here was captured on the G5 using NVIDIA's game capture, with the game auto-recommending maximum quality settings at 1080p. As you can see, the 4060 really carries this laptop, and if I didn't tell you, you'd probably never know it was running on only 8 gigs of RAM. I legit played hours on this machine, getting my ass handed to me time and time again while streaming in the Discord to some friends. Kudos to Gigabyte for absolutely proving me wrong about this laptop. I wanted to hate it. I did hate it. I thought to myself, why on earth did Gigabyte make a gaming laptop with 8 gigs of RAM? Well, I was absolutely proven wrong. I wanted so badly to blame the computer for my missed dodge rolls or unfortunate demises, but I just couldn't. Turns out, I'm just trash at the game. Not only that, but the G5 has 2 USB-A ports, which I found to be perfect for plugging in my wireless headset and my Xbox controller, because anyone who plays Elden Ring on keyboard and mouse is absolutely insane. That, and because the trackpad on the G5 is hot garbage. Not to mention it has the word gaming etched into it, which I don't even know where to begin with that. The G5 really is just a basic, simple, bare-bones gaming laptop. Heck, the keyboard isn't even full RGB and only has pre-selected colors you can choose from. That being said, it's still a solid budget-friendly gaming laptop. Nothing more, nothing less. But alright, what about this whole RAM thing? How in the world does this laptop play games like Elden Ring and Star Citizen on only 8 gigs of RAM? I'm sure some of you recently saw my Twitter post where I was showing that I did a box delivery mission on this laptop with only 8 gigs of RAM and seemingly had no issues. And of course, a lot of the comments were going crazy about, oh, well, we'll go over here and try this and do that. And listen, at the end of the day, the point wasn't to say that go buy a laptop with 8 gigs of RAM to play Star Citizen. The point was more so just to show that you don't need a crazy laptop to play the game, and to show how far Star Citizen has come in terms of optimization. And if you play the game regularly, you know what I'm talking about. In any case, surely there's some secret to all this, right? Well, the answer to that is a bit complicated. Obviously, the brunt of the work is being done by the 4060, but the main reason the game even runs is because of the way RAM functions within your computer. RAM, if you didn't already know, stands for Random Access Memory. It's volatile storage designed to only store information temporarily that is accessed frequently by your computer. Think of it as really fast storage for the programs running on your PC. Or in other words, think of RAM as a workbench. The more RAM you have, the bigger the workbench for you to work on your different programs. The less RAM you have, the smaller the workbench, thus forcing you to pick and choose which programs to work on. And as such, RAM comes in different capacities, just like your SSD or your hard drive. Most commonly today, you'll see computers come with about 16 gigabytes of RAM, or what's called physical memory. 16 gigabytes is generally considered the standard today, as Windows and other programs continue to require more and more memory in order to perform their basic functions. Heck, Windows 11 alone requires at least 4 gigabytes of RAM to function properly at all. Not to mention when you have 2, 3, 4, or more programs running at the same time. Toss a game into the mix and you quickly see how your RAM begins to fade away. With the G5, I was on average using 70% or more of my RAM while just sitting on the desktop with a few programs running. I'm talking Chrome with some tabs, Discord, stuff like that. And while running Elden Ring, I was definitely capping it out at nearly 100% usage. But what happens when you run out of RAM? Does your computer crash? Does your game stop working? Well, yes and no. You see, when your computer runs out of RAM, it starts to store less access information onto your hard drive or SSD in a special file called a swap file. This allows your computer to continue to store information efficiently when you run out of physical RAM. The swap file essentially stores data less used from RAM into a temporary location until it's needed again. It's the operating system's job then to determine the priority of that information stored on your RAM and thus decide where to allocate it when it begins to run out of space. As you can imagine, this adds a lot of extra stress on your processor if you're constantly running out of RAM. This, however, usually ends up slowing your machine down considerably, rather than just crashing it altogether. Though in some cases, it absolutely can just cause a total system crash. So what does that mean for gaming? Well, generally speaking, when your system runs out of RAM when gaming, you tend to experience a bunch of hitching, freezes, and slower loading times. And for games like Elden Ring and Star Citizen, which have big open worlds, you can begin to see why having 8 gigs of RAM, or more accurately, 2 gigs of available RAM, could be problematic. Specifically for me, when playing Elden Ring or Star Citizen, I occasionally would get major stutters and freezes seemingly out of nowhere. These could last as long as 10 seconds before coming back to normal. While this could be a combination of other things, it's also likely because my system ran out of physical memory, and when the game went to access certain information, it wasn't stored in RAM anymore, and so the operating system had to go searching for it, causing what's called a page fault. When a page fault occurs, your computer will begin searching for the information being requested in other locations, such as your long-term storage, like your SSD or your hard drive. That process, as you can imagine, takes a lot longer than simply retrieving it from RAM, which is sort of why RAM exists, and why having more RAM can help alleviate these kinds of issues. And while that rabbit hole certainly goes way deeper than I care to dive into, the key thing to note here is that while 8 gigabytes of RAM isn't ideal for modern day gaming machines, it doesn't mean it won't work, even if your games request more than what's available. Thankfully, Windows was designed to handle running out of RAM, and while it may slow down your computer considerably in certain programs, or just cause them to halt altogether, it's certainly a lot better than the system completely crashing. Well, depending on when it decides to slow down. That being said, it's still highly recommended to have ample RAM for certain workloads. If web browsing and basic programs is all you do on your computer, then 8 gigs is still probably enough today, and is why Apple for the longest time offered some of their Macs with only 8 gigabytes of RAM, although Apple's method for dealing with memory is a bit more complex, but you get the idea. Regardless, if you plan to be gaming, streaming, and more, then at least 16 gigabytes is recommended, if not more. Both Elden Ring and Star Citizen recommend 16 gigabytes of RAM, but as you can see, both ran on 8 gigabytes of RAM without too much trouble besides the occasional freeze. This also proves another point I've been trying to say for a long time now, in that you don't need a $5,000 computer to play games like Star Citizen. It's easy to let the internet persuade you into thinking you need some obnoxious, expensive computer to play PC games these days. With the rise of streaming and PC gaming, more often than not, you're being told you need an i9 processor, 32 gigabytes of RAM, and an RTX 4090 overclocked FU edition to even think about PC gaming. And well, that's just not true. Take the G5 as a great example that you can get a great gaming laptop experience for at or around $1,000 and play your favorite games without much issue. It may not be the most insane gaming experience, but as someone who's been a PC gamer for over 10 years, I can tell you that a laptop like this is really all you need to enjoy most PC games, especially if you need something more than a console, like for school or something. Though I'd still strongly recommend 16 gigabytes of RAM. In any case, despite the G5 initially looking very lackluster, I walked away being really impressed by what it had to offer, and it was a good gut check that you don't need a fancy, expensive gaming PC to have fun. As someone who is lucky enough to have access to some of the top-of-the-line machines out there, the G5 helped me realize that even though 4K gaming and all that jazz is great, it's not necessary to have fun, which is kind of the whole point of gaming, right? If you're looking for a super budget-friendly but good-performing laptop, definitely check out the Gigabyte G5. There's several different models available, but as far as budget-friendly gaming laptops go, this might be the best bang for your buck. But that's gonna be it for this one. If you enjoyed this video or found it interesting, please hit the like button, and as always, make sure to subscribe to see more content like this. You can follow me on X, TikTok, and Instagram at xxiv_concept. That's 24concept with your Roman numerals. Oh, and join our Discord. We're slowly building up our community and would love to keep the conversation going outside the videos. All right, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.